Hey guys! So I decided today to finally come around and give you guys some examples of the way that different functions and function attitudes are expressed through the body and the face. Specifically today, I want to talk about eyes. So eye contact, gaze, direction, focus, um, like physical movements of the eyes. So, what I think would probably make it easiest is that I will explain kind of what I see and what I notice and try my best to give you examples. Keep in mind, like, I'm not an actress and my SE isn't that high, so it's not that easy for me to imitate other types, but I'll do my best. So I'll give you some examples, explain what I think, and I'm going to try to cut in some clips of like celebrities and other people that I'm pretty confident about their type, and so you can see some like real life examples as well, and hopefully that'll help you get better at narrowing down an untyped person's type in the future. So if you see a particular the SI face or the NE face or whatever, that you might get a little bit closer to identifying their type. So first, let's talk about how the functions actually express themselves through the body and the face and so on, because I think a common misconception about the idea of visual identification is that like people of certain types like have different shaped heads or something like that. It's something physical. It might be, I don't know, like if there's something genetic that causes a certain type, maybe that might also predispose you to a certain like physical appearance. I think much more likely to be like a big factor is the fact that the cognitive functions you use affect how you express yourself and interact with the world. And part of how we do that as people is through signaling in our faces and in our bodies, social signaling and emotional and all that kind of stuff. And what you pay attention to, especially like eyes, like what are you looking at? You know, that can tell you something about what kind of person you are, what you're interested in, pay attention to. I am going to go function by function. This is what SE looks like. This is what NI looks like. But just keep in mind that everybody has access to all 8 function attitudes. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do examples, right? Like it's possible to see any expression on any person's face. So what you're looking for when you're typing someone is what expressions do they fall back to the most, and especially what do they seem to do. I was gonna say like when they're most comfortable, but actually what they do when they're uncomfortable or in novel situations or something can be telling too. But if you're looking for the SEIs, you're gonna find them most in people with dominant, and then to a lesser extent auxiliary SE. Okay, so you'll see the SEIs the most in people with strong SE. Like it's obvious, but you know, you'll see SEIs less in people, you know, valued but low, or in people with like ignoring or whatever. The one thing to keep in mind is that you will often see demonstrative functions expressed. So demonstrative is the opposite function attitude of your auxiliary function. So as an ENFJ, my auxiliary function is an I. My demonstrative function is NE. So I come across apparently as NE to people that you might notice me making NEIs, for example, because of that. So that's something to keep in mind too. They say the thing that other people notice the most easily are your like dominant and demonstrative functions. So I assume that's the case for visual identification as well. Enough rambling. Let's get into the functions themselves and what they look like. So I guess let's start with the perceiving functions because that's a lot easier for me to do for some reason. Oh, one like general thing that you can notice about these is that extroverted functions, the focus is like the focus is out. Introverted functions you pull in. The lower your F, the lower your S, the harder it is to copy other types. But if you are trying to copy, focus your intensity and gaze outward for extroverted types, inward for introverted types. So let's start with SE. SE has an outward focus, and the gaze connects very directly with whatever they're looking at, and it's really relaxed. I mean, unless they're like aggressive and you know, but like most of the time they feel very comfortable in whatever social or physical environment they're in. So it's relaxed, direct, connected, and external. Okay, you're gonna see a lot of like strong gaze, bearing into people's souls, but not in a like emotional way, but like in a just a this is what's happening. I'm noticing what's around me. Okay, so I'm going to, that's my best SE. Okay, and I'm going to cut in some SE DOMs and let you see what they play here.
Why do I have to do your religion? I don't. I don't believe your religion. I don't believe it. Get it through your thick skull. I don't give a shit about it. I don't care if it's fundamentalist Christianity, fundamentalist Islam, fundamentalist anything. It's voodoo. I don't give a shit. You're not going to run my life based on your dumbass beliefs.
You said your mom had long hair. Tell me something else about your mom.
Sure.
I didn't get to meet your mom, so I want to know what she was like. Was she like you?
تشبه رهف بس مو مثل خدودة وخشتها ووجهها وعيونها وأي بس لونها لا بشحال سلونها.
1 year ago, Hala's mother was killed in an airstrike that hit their house.
And so if you want to attack me for being overly emotional or for passionately, defending those who are defenseless, then go ahead. You can attack me all you want. But am I saying that I'm better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm fucking better than you, okay? Much better than you. You are garbage, okay? If you get a rise out of attacking the powerless, you're garbage.
For me, what is a temptation is coming home off of the road, which is why this time period is interesting.
So right now is kind of maximum.
This is
peril.
when it's happened before.
Really?
This is when I've fallen back before.
Okay, welcome back. So, hopefully you were able to see what I showed you. Let's switch now to NI, okay? So I'm going to do these in like the pairs that usually come together in a person. It's cool to see how SE people slip into NI sometimes and vice versa. So if SE has that very connected, direct look, NI is going to sink back, right, because it's a introverted function, but it's going to keep that directness, okay? Not necessarily engage with the person, although it can be, but it can also be staring off into space, kind of disconnected from the surroundings, but it's still got a directness, a specific direction, right? Because it's like engaged in some idea that they're cooking up or whatever. It's cool if you look at INPs because they have demonstrative NI but no SE, right? Little SE, they're vulnerable SE. So their NI has that like gazing off, but then it's like fuzzy and unfocused. It's hard for me to do, but like, yeah, it's just like you don't see that direction, right? But anyone who has more SE, when they have the NI, it's going to be more focused, and you'll see a lot of me as an ENFJ. I do the when I'm thinking, so that physically, it's just like your eyes get squinty. Like it seems silly that could be, but NI is like one of the squintiest eye. If you see these like muscles down here squinting. And then let me take the FE away because sometimes I can mesh them together too much. So if I was doing like an INTJ thing, like with no FE, you see even without the emotional like warmth feeling, you still get the squinty, direct, far off gaze. So there you go from SE to NI. I don't know if you can see it physically, but I can feel when I do the two, I can feel SE is outward and NI comes in. I think it's cool. So, all right, so I'm going to put some NI DOMs, some examples so that you can see NI in real life, other than just me. And here you go.
Well, you can interpret it.
You can, yeah, you can, but this is the way I see it.
Okay.
So, it's just the line from this little girl's mouth who is being mocked at school, and she's planning to do something bad for herself, but she still has time for one more daring dream.
One more daring dream.
Yeah, that's what I meant by it. But like you said, it can be interpreted in so many different ways.
There was actually violence against these women, and they committed a little violence in return.
Yeah. So women in England campaigned for the vote very politely for about 50 years. It was this sort of going to the government and petitioning for women to have the vote, and that was sort of swept under the carpet.
Would it be all right if we got the vote? Would that be all right with you?
Please, sir. Can we have the vote?
You guys know I sound maybe a little condescending. I don't mean to. I just have a real problem with social media brands that I don't think earn it on their own merit, that basically just shove a bunch of crap down our throats and expect us to take it. I don't like it.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Okay, so hi, I hope that was fairly easy to discern. Let's talk now about SI. SI is fun. I don't know why I'm pretty good at imitating SI, even though I have vulnerable, maybe because I was engaged to an ISFJ for a while. But all right, so the SI look, let's go from SE to SI, okay? Because a lot of times high SE people do have SI and, vice versa that they can slip into sometimes. So if you have the SE, it's very external, very direct and connected, okay? And it has more of a, not like wide-eyed, but like more of an open look because they're like taking in the sensing the things around them. So what you're going to do with SI is you actually open your eyes more. It's not this NI is like this. So from SE to SI, you open and draw back. And sorry, I got my contacts are blurry. Okay. And so they have like that kind of wide-eyed Disney princess / deer in headlights look. Slow movements, focus changes slowly, and whether they're smiling or they're angry, the eyes don't change that much because high SI people have kind of like a filter between the external worlds and themselves. Same for NI, but so they react to things not directly, not like an extrovert where you're just like super reactive. They do it like through this filter of perception into themselves. So if they're angry, you're not going to see like a sudden, you're going to see like a slow change, So SI look for that slow change, the wide eyes. They're a lot more aware of their surroundings than an NI person is. Who's just like, you can have like bears running around and they're just like, I wonder about what the year 2200 will be like, SI people are more aware of what's going on around them, but they do have like a slower reaction time than SE people. So I'll go ahead and give you some high SE people.
This had nothing to do with the DNC or DNC politics. This had everything to do with my decision that I could no longer stand on the sidelines as elections are taking place to determine who our potential next commander-in-chief could be. As a soldier and as a veteran, this is incredibly personal and it's incredibly important because I think this is the most important job of a president, is to be our commander-in-chief.
And it blew my mind, like really tripped me out, making me think these are moments in my life deeper than just handing somebody $1. These are actually moments of integrity, being able to actually talk to somebody. Me talking to him was simply a thank you from God, you know what I'm saying? And I felt God speaking through him to get at me.
Okay guys, I'm here, I'm Alexandra Stan, your love, and this is the first episode for Pop the Question. A very, very beautiful and charming prince and very, very handsome. Everything, actually, you guys, you inspire me all the time to make music and everything, like all the people that I meet and all the places that I go.
So don't go, if there's a yarmulke, that means that you're performing a bris in your room.
We all had crazy jobs to make money for
No,
college.
of course, yeah, absolutely. And you got to do what you got to do. But you actually do perform at colleges a lot.
I do, yeah. I've become a humorist, surprisingly.
But it's great. And you went back to your alma mater.
I did. The University of Illinois at
U of I.
Champaign-Urbana. My woodshop and I built a Japanese gazebo that we then, it sounds like a joke, but it's not.
Right? And the last one that I'm going to do from the perceiving functions is NE. So let's do SI to NE. So if you have your SI person, what happens when it shifts to NE is that the gaze gets a lot more, I want to say unfocused, but I don't mean unfocused in the SE to NI sense where you're like staring off into the distance. It gets unfocused in terms of directionality. Okay, so SI is very focused on what's in front of it, slow movements to change. Okay, NE almost can't focus on one thing, and especially with ENTPs, they're like the ones that are least likely to make eye contact, maybe in combination with INTPs, because like the NE is like moving them around so much that the idea of like looking in a person's face, especially with like low FE where they're like insecure about, you know, personal connection, it's like, it's painful, you know. So SI to NE, from here to like darting eyes, and especially up. You know, when you're thinking of an idea and you can't quite pin down where you're trying to go, and I'm sorry, I like have to get it's like really hard for me. It's interesting because NE is my demonstrative function, so when I'm not being NI, I'm pretty much being NE, but I don't identify with it. So it is hard for me to fake that, but you can probably see that a lot when my eyes are darting around. That's your NE. So better than my low budget example, I'm gonna give you some actual NE DOMs and see what you think.
This one has a very mild, what is that? It's sweet. It's very candy-like, but I can't place the exact candy. If you know what candy this is, you get a brownie point if you can tell me what candy this smells like. I can't place it. I know it smells like something specific, but I can't place it. I can't place it.
The versatility in what he does and the constantly changing, you know, that's something I aspire to. Him, and I was lucky enough to work with James McAvoy as well, who's you know, I view them as being kind of in a similar, and obviously they know each other well. But yeah, James is another one that I've always admired the choices he makes and the changes he makes. So yeah, hopefully I can be like that.
Hey everyone. So over the past like 2 years, I've been getting rid of lots of stuff. I've gotten rid of loads of clothing, of loads of books, loads of my Converse shoes that I collected as a teenager. I even cut my hair off. But I feel like if someone were to walk into my room, they wouldn't just say, oh yeah, Ariel, she's a minimalist. And I think part of that is because I don't really have the minimalist aesthetic of having all white furniture, you know, a big green plant in the corner.
That's why they're all millionaires. You know, Nancy Pelosi's worth $40 million. How much money is Chuck Schumer worth? Check it out. So Katie Halper, our friend of the show, sent me this. This was CNN. You want to talk about fake news? So, by the way, all the Russia stuff is fake news. Who gives a shit? Oh, is it actually news that Russia's been trying to hack into our elections? Is it not any more news than the United States has been trying to hack into their elections? Which we tapped the phones of our own fucking allies. Angela Merkel, we tapped her phone.
All right. Let's move on to the judging functions. The judging functions are a little bit harder for me to demonstrate, and especially they're really hard for me to switch between. But I'm going to do my best for you, okay? So, FE is easy. It's just me. Whatever I'm doing, that's FE. You're going to see a lot of warmth in the eyes, and this is combined with my NI. It's like really hard to separate. If I was trying to do an ESFJ, they have the SI and then the warmth though. Like it's more in the mouth, to be honest. I don't know how to like un-FE my mouth, but continue to FE my face, my eyes, I mean. So, yeah, a lot more expression. Eyebrows going up and down, looking directly at people. FE is the most comfortable, making appropriate eye contact. A TE person might like stare you down, but like an FE person knows when to look at you, knows when to avert their gaze, and there's a warmth in the eyes, I presume. So if I'm not enough, let me give you some more FE doms to look at.
The secret of life is to die before you die to find out there's no death. Brother, that has been, I resonate deeply with that. My experience has been over the past several years, I've died to myself. And when I speak of dying, I'm talking about an ego death. I'm still the same Elliot, but many of you can probably recognize that I'm not the same person. It has been a process of ego deconstruction. When the phoenix burns down, right? Or when Jesus says you've got to die to yourself to be accepted into the kingdom. You've got to let go of your old self in order to embrace the new.
She's not a person, but I couldn't leave without Pippi.
Pippi? Pippi?
Lawrence
Stocking.
Not long stocking like it said in Vanity Fair. That was very upsetting. Pippi was irate.
But Pippi is your dog.
Yes. Pippi called her people.
Ever thought about would you leave love?
I guess it depends on the love. Does that really mean? Does that sound super callous? Depends on the love?
Well, some love is better than others.
Well, I mean, if you're like facing getting a really good job and the love that you're with is like kind of like, maybe it's like momentary, then like choose the job.
Yeah.
If you're like, this is love for the rest of my life, then screw the job.
That's a kind of a whimsical answer. But I would, the first thing I would do would be just to stop cutting down national forests and ancient forests. I'd put like a moratorium on it.
Do you believe in karma?
Yes.
What's your karma?
Must be good.
That's true. What's the big...
I think I remember her once mentioning that she puts eyeliner or something on top of her pimples to create like a mole or a birthmark, you know, like a little dot. And that way it looks like a birthmark and not a pimple. So that's what I did. I created a little birthmark right there where my pimple is. Which I think if you didn't know me and you had never seen me before, you would think I had a birthmark or a mole there because it's in a very convincing spot. I feel like Mary Kate has a birthmark right there as well. I have had so much coffee today. But seriously, I'm gonna use this trick from now on.
Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go from FE to TI. So, TI is a lot more disconnected socially, obviously. It's introverted, so it's pulled in. A very matter of fact. Specifically, I'm trying to do an ISTP, I guess, a TI Dom. Very focused. Not in like an SC way necessarily, although if I'm doing an ISTP, it's got both. But like even, let's do an INTP face then, like, you got that NE in there. But when they're focused on something, their eyes don't move very much, right? You can see the wheels turning in their head. When you talk about someone, you can see the wheels turning in their head. It's usually a TI thing, right? Like they're like, yeah. I feel like I'm not doing a great example explaining, so let me give you some TI Doms and you can see what I'm talking about.
Hey guys, it's John. Today, Nintendo released a first look video of their new system, the Nintendo Switch. Now, I don't normally cover Nintendo stuff on this channel for reasons that should be obvious. They hate YouTube channels, but I absolutely love watching these cringy videos that all these video game companies end up producing about their new systems. PlayStation had a particularly good one a couple years ago.
All right, so the day is here. Today we're going to be talking all about my favorite contour products for pale skin. If you have fair... Oh god, this lipstick is going to be a disaster. not even 30 seconds in. Finding products that don't look ashy or too orange or too dark on fair complexions can be pretty tricky. I actually have a ton of products to share with you guys today. I've been collecting and trying these out for a while now, and I just realized only 3 of them are high-end, so the rest of them are all affordable drugstore products. If you're new here, I have lots of videos for people with pale skin. I have a whole playlist that I will link down below in the description box.
I feel the same way about it. Yeah. It's an extraordinary experience. It's completely one of a kind. I mean, it's like I can die happy now. I really do feel that way.
Oh wow! I mean, listen, you know, we've heard you sing. We know you have an amazing voice, but the process for Mamma Mia was a completely different. You know,
I didn't even study then. I just, you know, I had whatever I came in with, like this, sang pop music, which is so fun. ABBA is like classic pop music. Yeah. But they made my voice pretty. They doctored it a little bit.
As I've mentioned before, I think the European Union will cease to exist. It will collapse, and instead regional blocs will emerge. As for Trump, I don't think he will be able to reconcile with Putin. There are too many factors that restrain Trump in this. Even if somehow the US abandons its European allies, Eastern Europe under Polish and Romanian leadership will form its own bloc to contain Russia. So escalation in Eastern Europe is unstoppable.
Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Let's move on to TE then. So if TI is serious, focused. Oh, one more thing about TI that I want to mention is that my INTP husband does mention that, like, and I've noticed this, that it's kind of like they can't open their eyelids all the way. So it's not like an NI thing where they're like bearing down, but it's more just like, you've seen those guys, right, that are like, well, excuse you, you know, mild form of that is a TI thing where it's just a little bit blasé. Alright, so from TI to TE, you're going to get a lot more focused, open eyes, okay? They are not off turning the wheels in their head. They're engaged in the world, turning the wheels of the world. So if you got a TE plus SI, you're going to have a very, like, focused, engaged person. They see the things around them clearly. Even an ENTJ, for example, has that, like, a little bit of NI softness, but they are very aware of what's going on around them. Even in the INTJ, you've got that kind of no-nonsense, kind of directed power. Let me just give you some TE dams, so here you go.
We've been engaged now almost 5 years. The wedding will actually happen on our 5-year anniversary, and I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, we're like, this is like a movie. Like, how did 5 years even go by? I can't even believe it. But a lot of life happened. It did go by like that. It keeps getting faster. I don't even know how that happens because I keep looking back year to year to year, and I'm like, it's speeding up. Can we please slow this down? Oh my goodness.
It's a good place to work, all right? We do good work. We do honest work there.
He said he knew I must have some very sexy bras, and he'd like to see me in them.
I'm not interested in basically litigating something that is finished that makes my network look bad, okay? I'm not interested in making my network look bad at all. That doesn't interest me one bit.
Oh, sure. I mean, I can easily stay at Fox. I can go, hopefully, anywhere I want. I don't.
Do you want to stay?
Well, I'm figuring that out, right? I mean, it's not really appropriate to discuss here with you, George. I'm on Good Morning America.
And the pain that millions of working class people are feeling. And what he said is, I, Donald Trump, I'm going to be a champion of the working class. I, Donald Trump, alone, I can solve these problems. But what we are going to do, Gail, we're going to hold Mr. Trump accountable. We have all the things that he said. And we are going to say to Mr. Trump, if you have the courage to actually stand up to the big money interest of the billionaire class, I'm going to work with you. You want to rebuild the infrastructure? You want to raise wages? You want to end the disastrous trade policies which send our jobs to China?
People seem to relate as much to chasing pavements as they did to someone like you and stuff like that. So I don't feel like the reaction from the crowd has changed that much. Obviously, it's a lot more fans, but they seem to have the same reaction to me as the fans that I had on 19 as well, you know, from day one. Yeah, just in general, it doesn't matter where the last show was that I did, it's been years, so I am nervous and I'm going to be a little bit kind of rusty and stuff like that, so I'll probably just talk forever, which would be really annoying for everyone else, but for me it will settle me.
And finally, everybody's favorite ignoring function for me, FI. So FI again is introverted, so it's going to be pulled back, and it's really soft. Really, to me, it comes off as romantic, kind of a romantic feeling, and you'll see the INFPs sometimes who are like in between FI and TE get like this like seductive face, which is interesting. Personally, I don't find them particularly seductive, but like they do get that that face. And like if you know the singer James Bay is an INFP, I'll show you maybe a clip of him. He gets that look too. But even like an ISFP, interestingly, I don't often get an SE feeling from ISFPs. Maybe they just use a specific kind of SE, but they have some of the softest eyes. You know, you get a Jackie Kennedy or even Britney Spears, and they've got these really soft, like romantic eyes. And it is pulled back. It's not as engaged as FE, right? It's like more inside. And the difference between FI, let me try to stay straight up. It's like hard. I'm like breaking my neck to be FI. Okay, so FI, and then TI. It's really hard for me to switch between the two of them. Can you see the difference? I don't know. Let me show you some FI people and see if you can get a glimpse of it.
And Hitchin, well, in a way, I feel, on the one hand, I feel like, and I probably just, really this probably just relates to kind of my generation of like 14 to 15-year-olds, because that's the age I was at the time. I feel like, you know, I was very much, you know, with the band or the bands that I was in over that period of time, like, you know, 14 to 17, I feel like I was kind of the music scene. We were the music scene.
But in the meantime, I do have one helpful thing that you could do. And this isn't just for breakups, this is for everything. This is for everything in your life. Very important advice. Are you ready? Stop checking up on people who hurt you. Stop doing that. I'm giving you this advice, but I'm also giving myself this advice because in the past, this was something I really, really struggled with.
Not that I know of, no. You know, and I'll use this as a platform, I guess, to say. When we were looking for a bass player, Justin's name popped up, and he was interested. In my own experience, I hadn't really ever met or been around anybody, a Scientologist. I'm not a Scientologist. I'm also not religious in any way. And we auditioned him, and he seemed like a cool guy and a nice guy, and he's a great bass player.
I am a very hardworking businesswoman and an entrepreneur, and that's what I want to be known as now. Well, basically, the producers of the show told us to play these characters. They said, Nicole, you be the troublemaker. Paris, you be the ditzy, you know, airhead, and kind of that was our characters. And we didn't realize this was the first kind of reality show out, so we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into or what a huge success it would be. And I had no idea that I'd have to continue playing this character for 5 years.
All right, so that was my best attempt at explaining specifically eyeballs and how they can show off types. I know my impressions are not the best impressions in the world, but hopefully the clips gave you some ideas, and hopefully some of my explanations hit home. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to do my best to answer those, and I'll see you in the comments. Bye.